Hola a todos, welcome back to MetaFit MetaMind podcast, a podcast in which speakers, leaders, entrepreneurs, and influencers come in and share their journey on how they've gotten to this place in their life, while also normalizing those conversations between mental and physical health and wellness. I am Carla Rodriguez, your coach and trainer of NLP and host of this podcast, and I created this space to remind you to raise your voice and share your story. And as your guide, I am here to create a pathway to let go of those limiting chains behind and use this platform to empower and create awareness, purpose, and expansion in your life. You can follow us on Instagram at MetaFit MetaMind Podcast, or you can follow me at Coach Carlita. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Yay for second episode that I am publishing this 2025 year. And yay for all the people that you will be learning from and listening from. I think I will also be doing more solo episodes. My last one did actually pretty good with listens. So let's keep it up, yo, because I want to keep sharing. Yeah. And you too, as you listen, keep sharing this podcast. It's been a really cool month because I have really ramped up or amped up my schedule to have more amazing guests on the show and continuing to improve my communication skills and presentation skills, of course, as I'm doing this, right? I too have to be practicing, and I have come to realize that this is something that everybody wants. Everyone wants to improve and speak and communicate better. So I'm happy that the next cohort of the MMA is starting the last weekend of March. I can't think of that specific date, but that weekend, yeah? And it's just something that I'm excited about because I always love sharing the NLP knowledge. Now, I've been on the board of Women Without Limits movement for, I want to say a few months. Maybe, I think it's been like somewhere close to 10 months. And I'm still learning so much, understanding the process. And so if you want to learn more about the organization or volunteer opportunities here in Austin, visit womenwithoutlimitsmovement.org and check it out. Or you can donate to this amazing, amazing organization that has really powerful things and programs for the community. Remember to share the podcast with people you think would like it and subscribe to it so you don't miss the updated episodes. Remember that I'm on Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify, Castbox, all those places, or any other platform that you listen on. So in this episode, I got to speak with Yanira Puy. She is someone that I met at PodFest and who just instantly made me want to speak with her and get to know her and honestly just listen to her story. She's someone who I would say has been in very powerful positions, very powerful seats. And I would say she still stays humble and she's still in a place of gratitude and, thinking of like how she's gotten to this place. She is someone who worked for 20 years working as a marketing professional in Venezuela, here in the US, Colombia, until she began to question her purpose and professional path. She is right now currently working as a wellness professional with individuals and companies in Latin America and the US. And she's helped thousands of people in their coaching practice, their online programs, workshops, classes, all those things. And she has wellness programs within organizations. She brings that there. And she's someone who believes each of us has the power to change our health, to heal ourselves, and to find the balance in our lives. Basically, she believes in us. And I would say, I'm happy to say that I believe in the work that she's doing. Before me even saying any more, let's listen to the episode and let me know what you think. All right. Thank you so much for being back here on MetaFit MetaMind podcast. I'm so excited for another episode with another amazing and beautiful guest. I have Yanira Puy here with me today. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much, Yanira, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Carla. I'm so excited of our talk today.
Yeah. And I'm excited too because we tried to do this before and it wasn't working out. There was just all these things going on. And then I wanted to record at PodFest, but there was also a lot going on. So I'm happy that I finally am able to sit down and make this recording and have somebody listen to you because I know that you have an amazing story to share.
Yeah, and I think it's perfect because what you just said, it's adversity, is, the changes in life, and we're going to talk about it. So it's just the perfect thing that happened to relate to our talk today.
Yeah, and so to even start, my favorite question that some people love this question, some people don't, is to you, who is Yanira?
When we met last week and you started asking me this, it's funny because I I think it was some time ago I was doing a meditation and it asked the same thing, what are you? And I thought about it, and when I think about myself, I don't think about myself, well, I am a speaker, I am this, I'm a woman. No, I think about myself as a guide, as light, as embracing. So I think about myself as so many other things that describe, this humble and this human being who's always trying to be the best version of herself. So
Yeah.
maybe, light, power, growth, humility, all
I
that.
love it. Yeah, I love it. And I think that's so key and essential in as we are growing, as we are building businesses and families or leaving a legacy, it's so important to remember those parts of us that about the humbleness, the lightness, the fact that you're a guide. And I love that because I tell my clients too, and even my students, whoever goes through certification, is, hey, yes, we're getting the certification. It doesn't mean we have it all together. It doesn't mean we have it to 100%, right? No, we're human, and it's just this road, this path that we're on, and we are those guides that are just providing some little pathway for somebody. So for you, right, that little pathway, which I know wasn't little, what was that chapter turn or that journey that has brought you to where you are at today?
Carla, I cannot say that it has been one. And, I'm 51 years old,
Shoot,
almost 52.
shoot.
So I'm sorry, but I cannot say there was one. The
Yeah,
thing is that, so with everything that has happened to me and all the growth and personal development, now I'm in a place that, wow, like I'm really liking, what I have become, and not only for me, but for the people that I guide through this process. And I think, one of the inflection moments was when I got divorced, maybe like 3.5 years ago. And it was again another moment of adversity, uncertain, and change. Like being married for 7 years, and then one day I wasn't, and my dog died, and I moved to a different place, and I didn't like just lost my husband. I lost everything that it meant, all our dreams, his kids, the dogs, his family. And it was a very challenging time. But I was really heartbroken. I was in a place, I'm not going to say a place of darkness, but a place of change. And then I realized when I looked at the past, I realized that over and over adversity knocked on my door, and I overcome each challenge. And each time I
yeah,
grew stronger. And
yeah,
of course, I have, I think ever since I decided to change my career, like 10 years ago, when I started the process of studying, of getting a health coach certification, and then a master in health coaching, and then some other things again, when I realized I overcome everything and I had the tools. So now I created a framework to help people, guide them in this process. And
yeah.
I think, one of the inflection points was my divorce and how I overcame that adversity that I want to, like, I'm thriving right now. I'm really happy. You met me. I have
Yes.
this energy in me.
Oh my
And
God, yes. She
yeah.
just was so powerful, so I would say so magnetic. I'm like, I want to talk to her. And it was so easy to talk to you too. Because normally, you feel that like from people like, oh, I don't know, that like she
Mhm.
looks cool. She seems like a nice person to speak to, but why is it so hard to like just approach her? And with you, it was just so easy. I think somehow we broke the ice and it was just like instant. And we're like, okay, I gotta have you on my podcast.
Yes, yes. And I think, if you ask me what was that moment,
Mhm.
there has been many moments because I have lost jobs, loved ones, moved to a different country like 3 times back and forth. Like, I left Venezuela,
Yeah.
came here to the United States, went to Colombia, came back here. And all of that, makes you wonder and takes you out of the certainty of your life.
Mhm.
But something that I really love, Carla, is that the only constant in life is change. Everything changes.
Hmm.
Like the
Yeah.
seasons, the trees, they fall, the leaves, everything. And when we understand that, and when we have the right tools, life is so amazing. I love this quote, Carla, from Einstein. He said, there are only two ways to see life: one as nothing is a miracle, and the other one as everything is a miracle. So I wake up each day, and it's funny because I woke up this day, I was listening to a podcast yesterday, and this guy was talking about manifestation. So he made some rules to do that, because you have to be in the right place and to have clarity. And the funny thing is, like, okay, one of the things is gratitude. And I live in a stage of gratitude every single day, almost every time of the day. So I woke up and I'm like, okay, this guy said something about gratitude. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so alive. I'm so happy
Yeah.
that I'm alive, right? So that's the
Uh-huh.
first. And then he said, well, he wants to feel love because you want to set a stage for the day. So he said, well, I hug my wife, and of course I have just pillows on my bed. So I'm like, I start like caressing my hair, feeling the love. And this is how I am every day. And gratitude is one of the things that if you work on it, your life is gonna change. Like everything is a miracle. Like waking up, like seeing that I mean, it's sunny today, but it was
Yes.
raining yesterday.
Here
But
too.
yeah, so it's when you change your mindset, you change your life because everything starts right here in your brain. So everything starts with a thought, and the thought precedes the emotions and the actions that you take. So the way
Mhm.
you think determines the way you feel, and the way you feel determines the way you act, and the way you act determines your life, your future,
Yes.
your success. So if you
Hmm.
work on that, your life is going to be amazing with the right tools, of course.
Of course. And that is gold. What you just said is that gratitude, that practicing the gratitude, even if it's for the smallest thing ever, like you said. And waking up is not a small thing, but oh my God, I opened my eyes today. I am grateful. Or I am grateful for brushing my teeth this morning, right? Because some people aren't there. And so I think that's great. And where our focus goes, I say it almost every time, our energy flows. And that's what, Tony Robbins has said, and I feel like I live by that. And I feel like you said, how we feel takes us to how we act, which leads us to what we get in life. And it's whether we succeed or we don't succeed or we're not there yet. So yes, that is key, is that just that first thing, the if you can think of gratitude, I'm grateful for this recording, right? Of course, I'm grateful for this. This is like key, what you just said.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you mentioned Tony Robbins, and he always says, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. So when you
Yeah.
understand that, and
Hmm.
when I understood that, of course I wasn't like this my whole life, and more than 50, and I have done the work and I keep doing it because, as you said,
Yes.
this is something like you do forever.
Hmm.
But in my 20s, it's like, why this happened to me? Right now I never ask why. I
Hmm.
ask what for. And for you who are listening to this podcast, I mean, if something is going on in your life, think about it. And what do you have to learn? What is the lesson? Because when adversity comes, again, we feel uncertain. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. But if you focus on the pain, you're going to keep suffering.
Yes.
However, if you focus on the lesson, you're going to keep growing, you're going to keep evolving, you're going to keep learning. So it's easy for us human beings. I do it, but when I catch myself doing it, I change it, that we become victims. So if I become victim, I'm blaming somebody else or another situation for whatever happens to me. So if I take charge of my life, if I decide that I want to be happy and I take charge and I become, just like Tony Robbins said, the CEO of my own health, then I take responsibility and my participation in everything. And then I start acting like the life that I want in the future, but today, because you have to do it today. So, I mean, this is something that I always do. Never ask why, never play the victim.
Mm-hmm.
Ask what for, why this is happening to me right now. But because, Carla, there's always a reason. If we
Yeah.
see it that way, remember, like everything is a mindset, right?
Yes. Of course. And you said something earlier about having that uncertainty, right? Where 7 years you were married and then one day you were not. But there was also I feel like you've also, and we obviously you didn't go to this, but at least what I sense here is that you came from one country to another and how you evolved there. So for you, I feel like at this, you said you're like in your 50s. So I feel like there's probably been so much evolving and constant evolving. And I think what you just said too, that I think everybody can remember is it's a constant thing. It's a constant practice, a constant having to be mindful about it and aware of it. And there's going to be things that we're not aware of, and that's okay. But once we need to be aware of it, that's when we're going to do some work for that.
Yeah, it is really important. And I'm not sure if you're going to ask a question now, but let me just stop for a second here.
Yeah.
You just said that, it's difficult to be aware of everything. Of course, we have more, I mean, according to research, we have more than 60,000 thoughts a day. A day. And that's crazy.
It's crazy.
If you think about it, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And from those, 90% are the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So basically, Carla, we're thinking the same thing every single day, at least 90% of the time. So I might be thinking, like, am I going to find a partner? Am I going to do well in my business or whatever it is? Or why did I not take that job or whatever it is? So I'm thinking the same thing every single day, at least 90% of the time. And then, Carla, 80% of those are negative. So, I mean, just like I said, I didn't say something like, "Oh, am I gonna be this pretty tomorrow?" No, like I'm thinking in negative. Like, am I gonna find a job or am I gonna find a partner or whatever it is? I'm thinking in negative, so I'm afraid. So for you to change your mindset, and because this is meta mind, right?
Yes.
For you to change your mindset, you have to be aware. And maybe if you're listening, you're gonna say, "Yanira, you just said that we have 60,000 thoughts a day." I mean, am I going to remember all that? No, you don't
No.
want to, because you're going to get crazy as well. With all,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
Sadhguru once said, and I love that. Like, we have a mental diarrhea. I love the phrase because yes, we do. We have. Like, if you take a
Yes.
piece of paper and you count 1 minute and you start writing everything that comes to your mind, it's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, but you said something, Carla, that it's the key to everything. It's to be aware. And how can we be aware? You have to practice. Or I'm
Yes.
sorry, you don't have to. You are blessed, or you get to practice mindfulness every single day. It's the only way that we are in the present moment. There is this girl, she was the director of the psychology department in the University of Miami, Amisha Jha. And she said that we are great at mental travel, right? Just like we said, like we're going to the
Yeah.
past, to the future, but the only way to do something about it is to put play. And that's the present moment.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
imagine, that you have your cell phone and you want to listen to the beginning of the song or to the end of the song, but the only way you can play the song is to play. And I'm sorry I said like play many times.
I do the same
but
thing.
You get it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's so true. And so it's practice, practice, practice. So I did want to ask you, right? Because you are the CEO of your health and this part of your business as well, and you helping empower individuals. What was that? How did you know that you were going to get into this health space coming from the executive space that you came from? Because that's also another uncertainty, right? Coming from, I've got this job, it's secure, it's got the benefits, it's got all the things. I'm going to jump into this entrepreneurship space of helping others, right? But how do I do this?
I think it started So I spent 20 years in corporate America, more or less, in Venezuela, Colombia, and the United States.
Yeah.
And at some point, so I was trying, I'm going to go back. I
Yeah.
was trying with my job. I had an amazing job at Warner Bros. Discovery, so CNN, Cartoon Network. I traveled the world, Latin America. I was doing interviews. I mean, it was an amazing
So
job. I was
cool.
in
Yeah.
marketing, the marketing director. Everybody wanted to talk to me because I had the money. And at some point, I was trying to see what my purpose with this job was. And I would
Mm,
say, well, I help people to get entertained. Like I entertain people because they come home and then relax watching TV. But I knew that there was not a purpose. Plus, watching TV all day, it's not the best time spent,
yeah.
in your day.
Yeah.
But I was trying to make a point out of it, like finding my purpose. And
Mhm.
at some point I was walking with a very good friend, Daniel, and I was in Venezuela. And I mentioned, like, I don't know, like, I really want to do something different. Like, I feel it in my gut that I want to help people, I want to change people. And he mentioned the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. And that was January. February, I enrolled. And
Wow.
next
Fast.
year, I got my health coach certificate. And I guess because I come from the old school, I felt like with a certificate wasn't enough, so I went back to school while working, which
Mhm.
was great because I was on the plane, I was doing the test, like it was perfect.
Oh, okay.
And I got another master, but in health coaching. And then I got a bunch of certifications. And that's how I came to like this. Like I really wanted to make a difference. I was trying to find my purpose. And before I stopped working at CNN, I always say my personal coach, Santiago in Colombia. I work with him in his company. And I hired him to do an exercise with us at CNN about purpose. And when I started writing down and doing, it was like a 4-hour workshop. And when I did it, I'm like, okay, so I transform people. I mean, it was a long
Yeah.
thing, and I have changed it because your purpose can change.
Yeah.
So I live around my purpose. And one of the things when people see me, I'm coherent, right? So I
Mhm.
walk the talk. Everything that I guide individuals and women to do, I do it. I wake up and I meditate every day. I practice gratitude. I'm all the time exercising. I'm eating right. So I do all these things that I profess to, like for people to, to do them as well, because I know
Mhm.
the impact that has had in me and the thousands of people that I help every
Yes.
day with my online classes, my workshops, my conferences, my coaching programs, everything. I have seen the change, Carla, over and over. And I would love people to feel the same, to feel
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, and I think that's so important. And I will ask because it goes into this is along your journey, right? You are figuring out like, okay, how can we make this in a purposeful way, but in a health way, especially in the career that you had, right? Because people aren't really healthy watching TV. That correlation between mental and physical health, how did that play out in your life?
Okay, so I'm gonna go to the past again. I
Yes, no,
always saw my
here
mom.
we go,
Carla.
we go
Okay,
everywhere. So it's
I
all good.
always. So my mom has been like one of the most influential people in my life. I saw her every day at 5 o'clock. She would go and she would go and walk and exercise. And she
Wow.
was very, at least what I remember with my sister and I, she's like, okay, you have to go to the gym, you have to exercise.
Mhm.
So for me, that part was there. And of course, I mean, being from Latin America, we ate well. We ate the salad, the chicken. I mean, it was good.
Yeah.
Then I came here and I was 18 years old. I came here for the first time to live with my brother to study English. Hopefully, if you're listening, you're going to say, I did a good job. I know like some
She
words are
sounds
not.
great.
I always say that I sound like sometimes like Sofia Vergara, but I always tell people that what she said in Modern Family to her husband. She
Uh-huh.
said, "Do you know how smart I sound in Spanish?" So I have to say that because I do sound smart in
Yeah.
Spanish.
And by the way, those of you who are listening, at some point I'm gonna do a all Spanish series, so be ready for that because I'm gonna bring Yanita back and we're gonna do this all in
Woohoo!
Spanish. So if you know Spanish speakers, share this with them.
Good.
So yeah, so
Okay,
so
so coming back, so I came here for the first, I
mhm,
mean, to leave for the first time when I was 18 years old, and I something happened to me.
mm,
I developed an eating disorder. I was eating a lot, Carla, and I was throwing up because, of course, like being from Venezuela, you had to stay fit all the time. I mean,
yeah,
all the Miss Universe that we have there. I mean, it's really it's complicated. So I would eat a
the beauty
lot.
standards, right?
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
yes. So I was eating a lot, lots of sugar, and then
yeah.
I was throwing up. So basically, I was bulimic. And at
Mm.
some point, I can see myself, Carla, in the bathroom throwing up, and I said, "Janita, you have to stop this." And that's when I cured myself. And I
Hmm.
mean, I'm sure my psychologist or my doctor would say, "Dude, you're 18. You cannot cure yourself out of it." But I mean, I think I've always been a woman of action. So when I
Mm.
saw that, I was like, you have to stop that. It lasted a year. And so I was chubby, of
Mhm.
course.
Mhm.
But what I didn't understand, Carla, is that because your question, I know I ramble a lot, but your question was, how did I came up with the physical part and the mental part?
Yeah.
What I didn't understand back then, it was I was feeling lonely because so my parents paid for me to come here, me and my
Mm.
sister. And my sister, she used to, like do all these things with the Latin people. So she was speaking Spanish all the time when we came here to learn English. And me being the ethical person that I am and the very responsible, like I've been very responsible. I did party a lot,
Yeah.
but always responsible. And so I thought I cannot come here and learn English and go out with the Latin people. So I felt really lonely
Yeah.
because I didn't have people to go out with, to talk to. And I just because I was feeling lonely, I started eating because when you understand that there is a bunch of stuff when we talk about health. So it's not only the physical part. I already
Mhm.
had that. I was eating well and I was exercising. But
Yeah.
when your mental wellness, your or well-being, your emotional well-being, your
You're
social
emotional.
well-being
You're spiritual
is
too.
right, it's not good. You need to get the energy from something. So I was getting my energy from food, and that's
Mm.
why I ate. But I didn't understand this, Carla, until I went to school to get my health coach certificate. And they talked about this amazing concept that is called primary food and secondary food. So, secondary
Oh,
food is
interesting.
everything that you eat, right?
Mhm.
Like you put in your mouth.
Mhm.
But primary food sometimes is the first source of energy. I'm going to ask you something. I know it's your podcast. You're
No,
supposed
no,
to
you're
ask
good.
me something, but I'm just going to ask anyway.
I'm open here. I'm open.
Okay, okay, I like that. So, do you remember the first time that you fell in love?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe you were sitting. So, do you remember when you were kissing? Do you remember that?
Um. Yeah.
You have to say yes because it
Yes.
doesn't work if
Yes.
you say no.
Okay.
Okay. Were you hungry? I
No.
mean, were you kissing and you were thinking, oh, I want a pizza so bad?
No.
No, exactly. Why? Because that's primary food. Food is the first source of energy that we need. So,
Interesting.
primary food comes from spiritual, emotional, mental. So, it is important. So, when I understood
That
that
makes so much sense.
it does, right? When I
Yeah.
understood that health was not only physical, but also mental, social, emotional, just like the World Health Organization says,
Mhm.
then I click everything that happened to me and I understood why I was eating. Or for example, so I came to Atlanta to get my master's degree from Emory, and because of the visa problems, like they didn't give me the
Uh-huh.
job they already gave me for saying like that.
Yeah.
So I social distance myself And it wasn't even pandemic, but I social distanced myself because I felt like I was a nobody if I didn't have a job,
Mm.
because I identify myself for a job and not for the person who I am. So when over and over life, hit me with a curveball and another one and another one. I mean, what is good right now is that I understand that every time that something happens, it's because I'm growing,
Yeah.
because of course I do the work on that. And it's funny because after I healed from the divorce, with the framework that I use with clients, I said, "Oh, I can't wait for adversity to knock on my door." And then I said, Carla, okay, like, don't exaggerate, because I do have the tools, but
Yeah.
I'm I
Because you're
kind
like,
of
I got this.
yes, yes. It's like,
Yeah.
I mean, wait for a second before you
Mm-hmm.
throw me, under the curb.
Yeah.
But yes, so that's
Yeah.
the answer on how I understood that health is about different pillars, and it's not just about if I eat right and if I exercise.
Yeah, and that's wow, like I didn't know I don't think I've ever thought about primary food, secondary foods and how, you know, what we do helping people is probably a primary because we're so excited to see the change or to see
Yeah.
the whoa, like I just got an aha, right? So maybe that would be
Hmm.
primary for you, right? Where you're like, oh yeah,
Hmm.
she got a little like se le prendió el foco type of thing. Right.
Yeah.
I had no idea or no awareness around this and the other foods and how we become aware of that. And I think, again, awareness is the big factor here. And I think it's also amazing that you, in a way, you are looking for the challenge because you have the tools. I
Hmm.
have the tools, right? I know how to get myself out of something or how to do the work, how to, call myself on some BS if we're giving ourselves an excuse or because we're human, sometimes we get to a place of where we're kind of a little bit of the victim, right? We get to cry because we want to, but
Hmm.
we know how to get out of that. And when we are on our journeys of evolving, of growing, if you want out of that environment, if you don't know why these people are doing this to you, maybe it's time
Hmm.
that you're one because you have that question
Hmm.
that you start to change your questions, but also shift where you're at, who you're interacting with, and I think you kind of isolated yourself, but it also maybe was a time for you of reflecting on, you know, what was next for you. So.
Yeah, I mean, definitely in that time, um, it was, I mean, for
Mm,
sure I was reflecting, but not as much as I do right now,
mm,
because again, I've discovered that with this framework, you can just overcome anything. So now I'm like sure of where I am. There's something that I like that you said. I mean, you said something about questions, and I do
mhm,
think, and this is something that many people say, but the quality of your life depends on the quality of your questions. So when you ask yourself questions, you are kind of, trying to know who you are. What are your patterns? What are your beliefs? What are your
mhm.
limitations? What you have to work on? And it's funny. I mean, like for me, and what I've seen is that you have to do this all the time. It's not like, oh,
Yeah.
yes, I already asked the questions and I'm fine.
Done.
So, yeah, it doesn't work that way. So, last year, it was sometimes it was hard for me to come up with the strength to do, the sales part of the business
Yeah.
and everything. So I started asking myself questions. Why is it so hard? Why am I not putting all the effort if I love what I do? If I,
Mhm.
I love to empower people, and every time I do something, people come up to me and say, "You gave me hope." I'm like, "Wow, I give people hope? Really?" I mean,
What?
just telling my story. I'm like, I'm honored. But it was costing me, and I didn't know why.
Mhm.
So by asking myself questions, by meditating, by working on that, I find out that I'm just tired of all this masculine energy, I'm by
Mm.
myself, right?
Yeah.
So when I was with my ex-husband, I mean, we divide the chores and,
Yeah.
he would do things for me, which was great. And I could feel more feminine. Now I have to do
Yeah.
everything. Like, I don't want to paint the walls. Like, I don't. So
Yeah.
I find out, look how interesting when you ask questions. I find out that because I didn't want to do anything that was having an impact on my work. So the beauty of this is that when I found out, I understand like the psychological, the emotional part, the
Mm-hmm.
mental part, and then I took action on what I had to do. So since January, I've been making so many changes that it's amazing. But you have to ask questions because the quality of your life is gonna depend on the quality of the questions that you ask yourself. You always have to ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Why am I not doing this? Whatever
Mm.
it is.
Yeah. How long am I going to be in this thought process?
The only person that has the answer is you. You're listening to this. You have the answers within you. You just need to
Yes.
ask. You need to do the work. Yes, I'm sorry. There's no magic pill. There isn't. You have to do the work. But I promise you, if you do the work, if you do mindfulness, if you take care of yourself, if you ask questions, you are going to get the answers and you are going to get the life that you so much desire and deserve.
Man, I should end it here, but I got more. This was so good. So let me ask you this. So now that you are asking yourself these right questions, you figured out, okay, I was in this masculine energy. I'm doing the work since right now, since January. What's next for Janita? What's next for you, your business? Like, what should people expect from you?
Well, as I mentioned, I developed this framework and I'm
Mm-hmm.
putting together a lit magnet that hopefully I'm going to have ready so you can download it. If not, I will send it to you, Carla.
Yes.
And it's basically with every step of the framework. It's 7 step. It's called Embrace for emotions, for mindset, body, resilience, connections, and all that. It's within the framework. So if you do this, if you take care of that, you are going to be able to overcome everything in your life. So I have
I love
that.
it.
I'm working on an online course to do that and also on a coaching program for all the women and men who want to overcome or to have the tools to overcome every adversity. Because this is the point, Carla.
Mm-hmm.
Adversity is going to knock on everybody's door at some
Mm-hmm.
point, and yes, it's going to be unexpected, and yes, it's you're going to feel the pain. But with the right tools, you can overcome this. Like, I promise you, like, again, I've seen it over and over. And I'm working on my speaking business. I've been speaking in several platforms. So I want to do this so I can help more people on a stage to so they get that they have an amazing life and that
Mm-hmm.
they're amazing human being. Because you're listening right now, you are an amazing human being and you are loved and you matter and everything is within you. So embrace this moment and embrace change, because change can change you forever for the better if you see it as an opportunity to growth.
Yeah, so gold, so gold, 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 gold right here. Thank you so much. And if people wanted to work with you, wait for the lead magnet, the coaching programs, where can they find you?
Well, they can find me at Yanira Puy. I have my social media, Instagram, Yanira Puy, LinkedIn, Yanira Puy. Reach out if you wanna, if you wanna work with me, a discovery call, we can do that. And again, change is amazing. It's amazing if you start
Yeah.
embracing the life that you have. And when you understand that you can create your own life, whatever it looks like for you, that's when change happens. And when actually not change but transformation, Carla. Transformation.
Yes. So thank you so much for being on here. I am so grateful. You gave so many good, amazing things. I like am so, you could say, woken to many things. And again, I'm so grateful to you and I appreciate you so much. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Carla. Thank
And
you for
everything's going to be in the show notes, by the way.
yes. And thank you for, giving the space and for doing this and for I acknowledge you for all the work that you do as well.
Aw, thank you so much. So that's it for this episode. Here are a couple things I learned in this episode, in this conversation with Yanira. We have to build resilience. When we build our strength by putting in some attention, right? When we have some awareness on what's happened to us in the past and take learnings from that, because life sure happens, right? But it happens for us. And if we can use it for growth, that's how we grow that resilience muscle. Because trust me, I truly believe it's a muscle, just like the confidence muscle, right? It's something we have to practice. The last thing I can say is that it's okay to embrace change. I would say for this one, for me specifically, it's been a challenge in the past, and right now it's starting to emerge. It's starting to show up again in a big way in my life, because there's several things that the husband and I are doing, chapter turns, new opportunities, new changes, projects. But I have to tell myself this and sometimes ask myself, right, about this change that feels uncomfortable. And what is it trying to teach me? So that change, what is it trying to teach you? What is it trying to challenge you with, right? How will this give me an opportunity to keep growing and getting closer to the things that we want to achieve? And there's so much more in this episode that we talked about, but these were a couple that I feel like stood out to me. And you, let me know what you think, yeah? Again, that's it for this episode. Remember that this spring, the cohort of the next NLP coaches and practitioners with the MMA is starting. So send me a message to have a conversation on how you can improve your conversations with confidence and with pride and with purpose. So if you haven't done so, please share, rate, and subscribe to the podcast. It's going to help me so much to keep popping up on more platforms to get good reviews. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at MetaFitMetaMind Podcast. Go to the website, metafitmetamind.com, or the other page at Coach Carlita. Thank you so much for listening to this episode up to this point. I am Carla Rodriguez. This is MetaFit MetaMind Podcast, where we are normalizing conversations that we would have never had. Until next time.